Jake and I had shared 3 years together. The initial 2 were pleasant, but the final year became pure psychological torment. He began scrutinizing my phone, interrogating my whereabouts, and questioning my conversations. He exhibited irrational jealousy if male colleagues messaged me about professional matters. He would even jest about my infidelity in front of our friends. When I expressed distress, he would dismiss it, claiming I was overreacting and that defensiveness was a sign of guilt. The most agonizing aspect was my complete faithfulness. I never strayed, while he was merely projecting his own transgressions onto me. It was Teresa who first exposed him. She had been my closest friend since high school, practically a sister. One evening, while Jake was at work, she visited after I recounted another of his outrageous accusations. I showed her a text where he questioned my 15-minute delay returning from grocery shopping, implying I was secretly meeting someone. Teresa's expression shifted, and she presented her phone. Jake's dating profile was active that very day. His biography even declared him single and seeking casual encounters. Teresa admitted she had harbored suspicions for weeks. A friend of hers had matched with him, recognizing him as my boyfriend from my social media photos. Teresa had been meticulously gathering evidence before informing me, wanting to ensure there was no misunderstanding. That night, we meticulously devised a strategy. Teresa would create a fictitious profile and attempt to match with him to ascertain the extent of his deception. Teresa matched with him within hours. He showed no hesitation. Their conversations were repulsive. He informed her he was single, lamented about his psycho ex me, whom he claimed he was trying to leave, but who wouldn't grasp the hint. When Teresa inquired why he didn't simply end the relationship, he responded, "She pays half the rent and handles all the cooking and cleaning. Why relinquish that until I find someone better?" He then began forwarding her screenshots of his exchanges with other women he was seeing. In these chats, they would ridicule me. He branded me the most hideous creature and something so repulsive to these women. One message from Jake read, "I almost gag when she tries to kiss me," to which a girl replied, "You're such a saint for putting up with her." I would have left ages ago. Jake wrote back, "It's complicated, but not for long. I promise." These deplorable messages were sent to multiple women, all while he was accusing me of infidelity, and all while I was preparing his favorite meals, doing his laundry, and desperately striving to prove my loyalty. I didn't confront him immediately. Teresa and I decided we needed more than just incriminating evidence. We needed a comprehensive plan. Not to win him back, but to utterly devastate him. Over the subsequent weeks, I maintained the facade of the perfect girlfriend while Teresa continued her conversations with him via the fake profile. I smiled as he kissed me goodbye each morning. I continued to cook his meals and manage his laundry. I even offered an apology when he accused me of flirting with the delivery driver who had simply handed me our food and departed. All the while, my mind was consumed with intricate plotting. One evening, Jake returned home late, emanating the scent of an unfamiliar perfume. When I casually mentioned it, he erupted in anger, accusing me of paranoia and suggesting I seek professional help for my insecurities, even implying I might be depressed and not myself lately. I merely smiled and apologized, mentally adding this incident to my growing ledger of reasons for his impending downfall. I meticulously scrutinized our finances. We maintained a joint account for shared expenses, but Jake also possessed a personal savings account he frequently boasted about, touting his financial discipline and his efforts to save for our shared future, a stark irony. Reviewing our bank statements, I uncovered substantial withdrawals on nights he claimed to be working late, charges from expensive restaurants, hotel bills, and gift shop purchases. That's when I understood precisely where to strike him, his ego and his finances. I recalled my cousin, Vicky. Everyone consistently commented on our similar appearance, yet always qualified it by noting she was the prettier version. Thanks, family. She shared my dark hair and eyes, but was taller and possessed a more advantageous figure, as my mother often reminded me. Vicky had been a model in college and still commanded attention wherever she went. Crucially, she owed me a significant favor after I had supported her through a particularly painful breakup the previous year. I convened an urgent meeting with Vicky and Teresa, laying bare the full extent of my predicament. Vicky was enraged on my behalf, asserting that Jake's actions constituted emotional abuse, not just infidelity. She was right. Teresa presented all the evidence she had meticulously collected, and Vicky expressed disbelief that someone could exhibit such cruelty while simultaneously feigning victimhood. By the culmination of our 3-hour discussion, my anger had evolved into a cold, calculated resolve. That night, as I observed Jake texting on his phone, a self-satisfied smirk playing on his lips, likely denigrating my appearance to another woman while paradoxically accusing me of texting someone else, I solidified my decision. I had my strategy. Something that would make Jake profoundly regret every single derogatory word he had ever uttered about me. Something that would inflict maximum pain precisely where it would hurt the most. Teresa and Vicky were wholeheartedly committed, and together, we were poised to deliver him the lesson of a lifetime. First update. Our intricate scheme felt like a scene from a heist movie, except it was disturbingly real, and I was actively living it. We decided Vicky would orchestrate an accidental encounter with Jake at his gym. He frequented a downtown fitness club every Tuesday and Thursday with unwavering punctuality, ostensibly for training sessions, though I now suspected he was merely seeking female attention. Vicky secured a guest pass through a friend who was a member. We meticulously studied Jake's routine. He reliably posted workout selfies with timestamps, a predictable, foolish habit, and pinpointed the exact moment for Vicky to position herself on the treadmill adjacent to his preferred bench press. On the inaugural day of Operation Takedown, Vicky wore an ensemble of leggings so striking they even made me do a double take. She messaged me from the gym. Target acquired. He hasn't stopped staring since I walked in. The subsequent events unfolded with such predictability it was almost mundane. Jake accidentally jostled her while retrieving a towel, initiated a conversation about protein shakes or some equally insipid topic, and then requested her contact number to share workout tips. By that very evening, he was already messaging her. I sat with Vicky on my couch, scrutinizing every single message, my stomach churning with anxiety. Teresa arrived with wine and takeout, emphasizing that we required sustenance for the psychological warfare ahead. The text messages were precisely what one would anticipate: compliments about her physique, inquiries about her relationship status, and suggestions for a future protein shake rendezvous. Here's the crucial detail. Jake harbored no inkling that Vicky was my cousin. We share physical similarities, but not in an overtly obvious way unless one is paying meticulous attention, and Jake, by this point, rarely paid genuine attention to me. The core of our strategy was deceptively simple yet devastatingly effective. Vicky would engage in a simulated courtship with him, ensnaring him completely, compelling him to squander exorbitant sums of money on her, and then, at the opportune moment, we would expose everything. Concurrently, I would maintain my role as the unsuspecting girlfriend, privately reveling in the spectacle of him meticulously digging his own financial and emotional grave. Vicky and Jake's first date materialized 3 days later. He informed me he had a work event that night. I offered him a farewell kiss, wished him an enjoyable evening, and then immediately drove to Teresa's apartment, where we meticulously monitored the entire evening via Vicky's real-time text updates. He escorted her to a ridiculously upscale restaurant he had never once taken me to, despite my overt hints about wanting to celebrate our anniversary there. Vicky reported that he ordered the most expensive wine on the menu, shamelessly boasted about his high-profile job and his esteemed savings account, and even possessed the audacity to mention his practically single status, claiming he was in the process of concluding a stagnant relationship. When Vicky sent us a restroom selfie from the restaurant, I nearly vomited. It was an utterly surreal experience, observing my boyfriend on a date with my cousin, while I sat on my best friend's couch, consuming popcorn and meticulously plotting his ruin. Teresa continually reinforced the notion that every incident was merely further evidence of his deplorable character, and that soon, he would pay for all of it, both literally and figuratively. Over the ensuing weeks, Jake became utterly captivated by Vicky. He began canceling our plans to accommodate her, staying out later, returning home with a smug, self-satisfied expression, as if harboring a thrilling secret, all while Vicky diligently relayed every detail to Teresa and me. The financial expenditures commenced subtly, with dinners, minor gifts, and concert tickets. However, Vicky was strategic. She would casually allude to a piece of jewelry she admired while they ambled past a store. Moments later, Jake would be dropping $500 on earrings to impress her. She would articulate her desire to visit a specific weekend getaway, and abruptly, Jake would be booking hotels and making elaborate plans. The most satisfying aspect, Vicky would accidentally leave these lavish gifts at his residence, claiming she feared losing them. In reality, this prevented him from reclaiming them later. She would then promptly deliver them directly to me. I now possessed a growing collection of expensive jewelry, designer handbags, and even a luxury watch he had purchased for her, all acquired with funds he professed to be saving for our future. Regarding the trips and experiences, Vicky implemented a clever system. She would persuade Jake to charge all bookings to his credit card. Subsequently, she would contrive some plausible excuse for needing cash for her half, which he would invariably refuse, eager to appear magnanimous. Following the weekend, she would Venmo me her allocated share from Jake's cash. Sometimes I would appropriate it for myself, but predominantly, I would divide it with Teresa and Vicky for what we affectionately termed our revenge fund. We were steadily accumulating quite a significant sum. One particular weekend, Jake informed me he was attending a business conference in a beach town 2 hours away. In reality, he was enjoying a romantic weekend with Vicky at a luxurious resort. Vicky, with her persuasive charm, convinced him she required $800 in spending money for spa treatments and shopping. He relinquished the cash without hesitation. That money, in turn, funded a decadent spa day for me and Teresa at a local establishment while he was away. We indulged in a comprehensive pampering session, massages, facials, manicures, and pedicures, all financed by Jake. We even posted photographs, fully aware that Jake no longer bothered to scrutinize my social media. All the while, Jake grew increasingly audacious with his falsehoods directed at me. He began working late 4 nights a week, fabricated weekend business trips, and on one occasion, even claimed his mother was ill so he could whisk Vicky away to a wine country resort. His actual mother called me that very same weekend, inquiring if we wished to join them for dinner. I concocted a fabricated excuse about Jake suffering from food poisoning. Maintaining my part in this elaborate charade was utterly exhausting. I had to feign normalcy, continue preparing his meals, doing his laundry, and smiling as he kissed me with the very same lips he had been using on my cousin. The situation became more intricate when Jake began disparaging his horrible girlfriend, meaning me, to Vicky. Vicky diligently recorded their conversations, which was legal in our state with one-party consent, and forwarded them to me. Hearing him label me desperate, clingy, and totally oblivious ignited a furious desire within me to utterly incinerate his entire life. The most painful revelation occurred when he confessed to Vicky that he couldn't wait to be rid of a dead weight, and that the sole reason he hadn't terminated our relationship was the sheer convenience of having someone split the bills and handle all the household chores. He literally referred to me as his Roomba that also pays rent. Upon hearing that recording, I shattered a glass against the wall when Jake was not home. Teresa had to rush over and assist me in cleaning up the fragments before his return. Yet, even amidst the pain, the tangible benefits of our elaborate scheme continued to accumulate. Vicky persuaded Jake to purchase her a new iPhone, citing her existing one's persistent battery issues. She promptly presented it to me, as my own screen was severely cracked. She also convinced him to buy designer shoes in her size, which coincidentally matched my own. She even managed to have him pay for a weekend yoga retreat that she conspicuously failed to attend. Instead, I went with Teresa, reveling in the ironic delight of Jake funding my relaxation while believing I was at home meticulously doing his laundry. Around the 2-month mark, Vicky initiated phase 2 of our meticulous plan. She began articulating her stress at work, expressing her profound need for a genuine vacation. She strategically mentioned destinations she had always yearned to visit, coincidentally, places I had previously voiced my own desires to explore. One evening, during a date with Jake, she broke down in feigned tears, lamenting her lifelong inability to afford a proper vacation. Jake, immediately assuming the role of the benevolent hero, instantly offered his assistance. Before the night concluded, he had booked a weekend trip to an exquisite mountain resort approximately 3 hours away, all expenses covered. This is where the narrative took an intriguing turn. The day preceding the trip, Vicky contacted Jake, feigning distress. Her grandmother, she claimed, had been unexpectedly hospitalized, rendering her unable to depart that weekend. Jake panicked, scrambling to offer solutions. Could they postpone the trip? No, it was non-refundable. Could her grandmother's condition permit a delay? Vicky expressed shock at his insensitivity. What if he accompanied her to visit her grandmother instead? No, it was a strictly family-only health crisis. After allowing him to stew in anxiety for a full 24 hours, Vicky called back with auspicious news. Her grandmother's condition was stable, and doctors assured her there was no immediate cause for concern. The Bora Bora trip, therefore, could proceed as initially planned. Jake was so profoundly relieved that he actually dispatched flowers to her grandmother as a gesture of well-wishing, flowers that were ironically delivered to my new apartment, where Vicky was currently residing half the time as we meticulously prepared for the final phase of our operation. 2 days before the scheduled trip, Jake was a complete mess. The bank, represented by my fabricated narrative, had still not approved the loan he so desperately required. He was attempting to pack for Bora Bora while surreptitiously concealing his suitcase in the closet whenever I was present in our shared apartment. He was juggling incessant text messages between me and Vicky, desperately striving to keep both relationships precariously afloat. It was almost pitiable to witness his utter desperation, almost. The night preceding the grand trip, I informed Jake that I needed to discuss something important with him. His face visibly paled. He likely presumed it concerned our engagement or the elusive loan. Instead, I calmly told him I would be staying with Teresa for a few days, as I required space to contemplate our future. His relief was palpable. This conveniently resolved his dilemma of how to depart for the airport without prompting my inquiries. What Jake remained entirely oblivious to was that while he was at work the previous day, I had already systematically relocated the majority of my remaining possessions to my new apartment. All that remained were some clothes and toiletries, easily contained within a single suitcase, which I discreetly packed while he was showering. As I was preparing to leave, Jake embraced me tightly and expressed his hope that I would have an answer regarding our future upon his return from his business trip on Sunday. The sheer audacity of his ability to lie so convincingly after 3 years together still astonished me. The moment I closed the apartment door, our ultimate countdown commenced. Operation Complete Destruction was officially underway. I proceeded directly to Teresa's residence, where Vicky was awaiting. We ordered pizza, uncorked champagne, and meticulously reviewed our plan one final time. The following morning, Jake would head to the airport, under the blissful delusion that he was embarking on the romantic getaway of a lifetime with his stunning, clandestine girlfriend. Instead, he was destined to experience the worst day of his life. We barely slept that night, too exhilarated with anticipation. At precisely 6 a.m., Vicky texted Jake, "Good morning. So excited for today. Can't wait to see you at the airport." Jake's immediate response arrived, "Just finishing packing. See you at Terminal 3 at 8:30. Can't believe we're finally doing this." At 7 a.m., we observed, via the apartment building's security application, as Jake departed with his suitcase, appearing happier than I had witnessed him in months. The instant his car pulled away, Teresa, Vicky, and I entered Teresa's car and proceeded to the airport ourselves. Our purpose was not to fly anywhere, but solely to bear witness to the impending spectacle. We arrived at Terminal 3 around 8:15 and positioned ourselves at a cafe, affording a perfect vantage point of the check-in counters. Jake appeared at 8:25, eagerly scanning for Vicky. He checked his phone, messaged her, then joined the check-in line for his flight. At precisely 8:45, just as Jake would be approaching the counter, Vicky dispatched the message we had meticulously crafted the previous night. It was a selfie featuring me, Vicky, and Teresa together, all broadly smiling, with our middle fingers prominently displayed. Beneath the image, Vicky's text read, "Surprise, you piece of garbage. Hope you enjoy your $17,000 vacation for one. Your girlfriend knows everything." From our concealed vantage point, we watched Jake receive the message. He froze mid-check-in line, his gaze fixed on his phone. His expression transitioned from confusion to shock, then to utter horror, within seconds. He wildly scanned his surroundings, as if anticipating our physical presence. He immediately attempted to call Vicky, but was directed straight to voicemail, as she had blocked his number. He then tried calling me, same outcome. Jake stepped out of the line, still transfixed by his phone in disbelief. He slumped onto a nearby bench, frantically typing, likely sending desperate messages that would never be delivered. We observed the scene for nearly 20 minutes before he finally rose and, in a dazed, zombie-like state, trudged toward the exit, dragging his suitcase behind him. Jake spent the entire day attempting to contact us from various numbers, leaving an increasing cascade of desperate voicemails. We ignored every single one, redirecting our focus instead to phase 2 of our ultimate plan. I had also carefully placed a meticulously worded letter on our kitchen table, outlining precisely what we knew, accompanied by printed copies of some of his most derogatory messages about me, including those where he referred to me as the most hideous thing and his Roomba that also pays rent. The letter explicitly stated that any further contact from him, particularly any threats or harassment directed at me or Vicky, would result in the entire evidence folder being immediately transmitted to his parents, his employer, and disseminated publicly. Was all of this strictly necessary? Probably not. Was it exquisitely satisfying after months of his psychological abuse and infidelity? Absolutely. That evening, Jake appeared at the apartment, only to find himself unable to enter. The security camera captured his complete meltdown in the hallway as the full realization of how thoroughly he had been played finally dawned upon him. Over the subsequent days, Jake cycled through every conceivable emotion. He dispatched emails pleading for forgiveness, then furious ones labeling us crazy witches, followed by pitiful messages lamenting his impending job loss if he couldn't repay his debts. Exactly 1 week following the airport incident, we executed the final component of our plan. Vicky, Teresa, and I booked ourselves into a magnificent local spa resort for the weekend, using the last of our accumulated revenge fund money. While luxuriating in hot tubs and indulging in massages, we each posted a single photograph to our social media accounts. Predictably, this triggered another torrent of desperate messages from Jake, now utilizing his brother's phone since we had blocked all his own numbers. He expressed incomprehension at our perceived cruelty and heartlessness, claiming his actions were insignificant compared to how we had utterly destroyed his life. His utter lack of self-awareness was truly remarkable. In the months that have elapsed since then, Jake has attempted various tactics to contact me. He even sent a letter to my parents' residence, which they, thankfully, forwarded to me unopened. What he has conspicuously failed to do is repay any of the money he illicitly transferred from our joint account, or to offer any explanation to his family and friends regarding his sudden necessity to relocate back into his parents' home at the age of 30. Regarding the financial repercussions, Jake is reportedly working 2 jobs in a desperate attempt to settle his debts. The vacation packages, flights, and hotel reservations were all non-refundable, precisely as Vicky had shrewdly ensured during the booking process. His credit score is utterly obliterated, and his savings are completely depleted. Meanwhile, I am flourishing in my new apartment. I have received a promotion at work. I am now wearing designer clothing and jewelry, all of which, ironically, Jake indirectly financed. I am actively planning a genuine vacation with Teresa and Vicky for next summer, one that we will fund with our own honestly earned money, because we are not pathetic cheaters who must manipulate others to achieve our desires. Last week, Jake appeared at my apartment building at 3 a.m., visibly inebriated, weeping into my Ring doorbell camera about having made the gravest mistake of his life and his willingness to do anything for another opportunity. I observed the live feed from my phone, comfortably ensconced in my bed, and took the only rational course of action. I sent the video to Vicky and Teresa so we could collectively revel in the absurdity, then promptly forwarded it to building security to have him removed from the premises. 20 missed calls later, he finally capitulated. I slept profoundly that night, secure in the knowledge of his suffering while I was unequivocally thriving. That, my friends, is the exquisite beauty of karma.